So I'm gonna try something a little different this time. Normally, I'm right in front of the camera doing something interesting or new for me. But this time, I just want to talk and use what would have been the primary footage as B roll. For context of the B roll, I already knew that they lived in a completely different way from me, and what you will be seeing is me walking with my friend Rosie, two of her siblings, Matthew and Joanna. I just got into their house in Virginia 2 days before we set out on this big trip we've been planning, so you will also see some random videos I took during the trip. I didn't realize how much I needed this trip. I didn't know what kind of pace or way of living I needed until I stepped into someone else's. Not just at Rosie's family's home, but also at the Airbnb we stayed at on vacation. The first thing that stood out was how they acted with each other. There were seven of us at the Airbnb. Four of them were Rosie and three of her siblings, and they got along really well. I get along fine with my own siblings, but this felt different. Maybe it's because they're homeschooled and there are nine of them in total, so they've always been each other's people. But at least with the four who were there, they weren't just siblings, they were genuinely friends. Even away from home, with no parents around, the dynamic did not miss a beat. Matthew still helped clean up after dinner, Rosie still cooked and pitched in, Daniel was always finding ways to make things fun, and Joanna kept sharing her unique hobbies with everyone. They were actually interested in each other, not because they had to, but because they wanted to, and I really loved seeing that. People have asked me what felt different about being around them compared to people back home, but that's just it. These are kindred spirits. This is honestly the first time I've been around multiple people at the same time and felt this much resonance. It took almost no effort to be around them. You know how sometimes you're around people and you're always thinking, should I say something? What should I say? That didn't really happen here. And sometimes when you meet people through someone, you kind of need that person there to feel comfortable. But Rosie didn't need to be around for that to work. I hung out with them plenty of times when she wasn't there, and it still felt great. One small moment that actually meant a lot to me was at the Airbnb. The only drink we had before shopping was Coca Cola. I didn't like the regular glasses that were at the house because they had this weird texture. So I grabbed a big wine glass instead and poured Coca Cola into it. When I came back out onto the screen porch, they all saw it and laughed. A couple minutes later, Matthew and Joanna show up with wine glasses full of Coke also. Later, when we had groceries, Matthew wanted coffee but couldn't find the mugs. He was about to use a regular glass for the coffee, but then I told him to just use a wine glass instead. He froze in his tracks, and a grin started to grow on his face, and later he joins us on the screen porch with coffee and a wine glass. So this might not seem like a big deal, but if I did this around the people I'm usually with, I would have been met with, Samuel, what are you doing? Or, Samuel, this isn't how people behave in real life or in normally in society. Or, Sam, why do you have to be so weird? Or my favorite, Sam, the way you think is so interesting. And it's not like those comments crush me. I really don't mind hecklers because I admittedly do weird stuff. But this was my first time having people not just tolerate it, but actually join in. And that felt pretty good. In fact, a week later, back at their family house, Joanna sat down at the table with a wine glass full of strawberry lemonade. We made eye contact and she just laughs and she goes, "It really does taste better this way." So they didn't only copy the joke once, they kept it going actively. To me, a great friend isn't just someone who accepts your weirdness, but someone who sometimes joins in on it. Obviously, use discernment on what weird things to join in on, but when it's harmless stuff like this, it shows real love. And I'm willing to bet if I invited them to something random like a spa that serves pizza while you get massages and watch a movie, they'd actually come. Knowing that kind of solidarity exists, even though we've only just met each other in person for a bit, feels really special. When you step outside of your normal situation, you notice stuff about yourself that you wouldn't see otherwise. I learned a lot from this experience. First, just to repeat, people matter a lot to me, and I've learned how it feels to be around people I really resonate with. The people I'm around normally are great. Those relationships have been built up over time. But relationships without that deeper resonance only go so far. and it's rare to find a connection that strong without it. I also realized that this whole time living in EJ and doing stuff in PA, I've been coping a lot. The difference between coping and just enjoying a hobby, in my opinion, is whether you're carrying a burden that you can't deal with. For example, I stay up till like 4 a.m. and wake up at noon. Not because I can't wake up earlier, but because there's no reason to. While I was away, I naturally started waking up earlier and living at normal hours. I think I partly do this because I'm a night owl, but partly because it makes it so I can avoid being around society that I don't feel too comfortable being around up here. Another weird one is I cope with people too. Even though I avoid some people, I'll spend like 6-hour Discord calls with people I'm close to. I really do care about them, but it's partly me clinging to something that feels comfortable. Rosie and my friend Chunk are perfect examples of this. A third thing that I learned is that the environment I do best in is way slower than the environment is where I live. Where I'm from, you always have to be doing something and always getting something out of stuff. Back at Rosie's house, I got up early, showered, and spent an hour giving attention to their cat so he doesn't meow a bunch and wake everybody up. Rosie came down later in a bathrobe, still in the clothes that she slept in. We sat, sipped coffee, barely said anything for like an hour. And then Joanna joins us with a towel around her head, and then Matthew later comes down and gets coffee and sits nearby. We were just chatting it up for a while. Nobody asked what I was working on, what my goals are, what I'm learning, or what my plan was. And then it hit me. They weren't rushing to justify every minute of their life. And I realized how deeply wired I am to feel guilty for just being still. But stillness doesn't have to mean aimlessness. Sometimes it just means peace. And seeing that two of Rosie's brothers, Daniel and Benji, do pretty well financially and still live like this, it showed me it's not laziness. It's not a lack of ambition. They're just actually okay with who they are and where they are. And maybe I always wanted that too, but I just hadn't seen it lived out. So I wasn't able to like conceptualize it. Some people might say this is just a grass is greener thing. Like I went somewhere new and idolized it. But here's the thing about that. You only really say that kind of phrase about a situation where someone thinks something is better than it actually is and then goes to that situation and then it sucks. But I didn't imagine this. I lived this. And now I can't unsee what it felt like to be around people who don't rush you, don't drain you, don't make you perform just to be there, stuff like that. The only times I got annoyed on this trip were when I thought about stuff back home, and usually I get annoyed by a lot of stuff. I thought that was just normal life. Turns out, it's not. Now, I don't think I can go back to my old rhythm, or at least not without taking some of this with me. Because whatever this was, this slower pace, this peace, I don't think it's just theirs. I think it's something that I need also. And now that I've seen it, I can't pretend I didn't. Like, I'm back home now recording this, and this part isn't even on a script. I literally can't even look out the window or drive down the road. Like, everything around me that I'm familiar with looks completely different now. And I just can't unsee it anymore. Like, getting tailgated when going 15 miles above the speed limit because somebody is trying to rush. I thought that was everywhere. That happens in a lot of places, don't get me wrong, but it especially happens out here in New Jersey a lot. Like the pace, the fast pace, everything is always so fast. And I just can't unsee it now. I was used to it because I thought that was the case, but it's not. So yeah, I've been surviving in a rhythm I was never built for. And now that I know what peace actually feels like for me, I don't want to go back. So this slice of life I took, it wasn't really a slice from Rosie's life or her family's life or anyone else's. It was a slice from the version of my life I think I actually fit best in. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching that or listening to that. If you were here just to have me talk about the slice of different life, that part of the video is over, and thank you for watching that part. This is the other part of the video. When I share a scripture that I read, what it means to me, how it helped me, and how I think it could help you too. I put this part at the end because I didn't think interrupting that type of video would have flowed really well. So I put it at the end. So without further ado, this reading is in the book of Habakkuk, and it's in chapter 2. And the verses are 2 and 3. And it says, "Then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." So, for some context here, in this verse references a few things in the Bible, actually, because the Bible references itself a lot. But in this, one of the main instances is Habakkuk is basically giving his complaints to the Lord about lots of people doing evil wickedness, and they are getting away with it, basically. And he's like, hey, why are they getting away with this? They shouldn't be. And even though you said that they would be punished and everything like that, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. And the Lord was basically telling him, don't worry, it will happen. And I want the key part of this verse is the very end. And it will certainly come and will not delay. And that's God saying it will not delay. And how this helped me is I took that specific part and applied it to his plans for my life, because God was talking about his plans there. And I apply that to my life. It will not delay. That means that it's not ever going to be late. It's always whatever happens will be on time. He's God. He has the best timing, the best understanding of everything, far beyond any type of comprehension that any of us will ever have. And when I think about that, I was like, okay, it will never be delayed, or in other words, late, meaning you will never have to wait longer than you need to. Whatever it is that God has planned for you, you are waiting exactly as long as you should be for it to come. Now, that doesn't mean you should stop praying to them. That doesn't mean you should stop asking him for whatever it is you're asking him for, assuming that what you're asking him for is biblical and aligns with his will and stuff like that. But I just that part to me, that's what stuck out to me. So, and it's funny because I am in a situation where I have to, when most people would feel a sense of urgency, a real sense of urgency, but I'm actually not feeling pressured about it or too nervous about it. And this verse is one of the things that helped me think about it. I was just okay, let's not worry about it. One of the number one things that is said in the Bible is do not be afraid. And there's even more reasons in the Bible, and the Bible gives you tons of reasons why you shouldn't be afraid. And this is one of them. So whatever it is that God has planned for you, it will not be delayed. You are not waiting longer than you need to be. And that could seem like an obvious take, not even take, an obvious fact. But sometimes it helps to just have a great reminder. So that's the verse. That's how it helped me. And that's how I think it can help you too. So thank you so much for watching the video. And if you stayed for this part, I appreciate you for watching this part as well. And have a great and blessed day, everyone. Bye.